Local agencies in every part of our country. Other than that, we don't include too many people. That's a hell of a group, isn't it, huh? When you think of it, that's not a group you want against you.
Breaking news tonight, a major rescue operation has saved the lives of 180 refugees. Details are still emerging, but
5:23 a.m., Minneapolis, Minnesota. A federal courthouse stands silent in the pre-dawn cold. Frost clings to granite columns. The American flag hangs motionless above empty streets. Inside, a judge's chambers hide secrets that would shatter trust in the justice system itself. One Somali American judge also tied 17 years on the bench, $127 million in illegal bribes, a human trafficking pipeline that moved 2,300 refugees into forced labor, and a corruption network that reached into 6 federal agents. If you want to know how American justice was bought and sold, hit like so this story reaches everyone who needs to see the truth. Let me show you how a courthouse became a criminal fortress. The Hennepin County Courthouse was supposed to represent justice. Marble floors, soap, benches. The scales of justice carved into stone walls. Judge Layla Mahad presided over immigration and asylum cases. High profile, high stakes, life-changing decisions made daily. Refugees trusted her. Attorneys respected her. Federal officials praised her efficiency. Her courtroom processed more cases than any other in the district, 340% faster than the state average. That speed should have raised questions. Instead, it earned commendations. Mahad came to America as a refugee in 1993. On Kadishu to Minneapolis. She studied law, passed the bar, rose through the system with determination and brilliance. By 2006, she was appointed to the bench, the first Somali American judge in Minnesota history. Her story was celebrated, a symbol of immigrant success, proof that the American dream still worked. But federal investigators would discover the dream was a facade. Behind the gavel in black robes, Judge Mahad was building an empire on human suffering. The first alarm came from an ICE analyst in March 2019. His name was Marcus Webb. 12 years with immigration and customs enforcement. Pattern recognition specialist, he noticed something strange in asylum approval rates. Judge Mahad's courtroom approved 89% of Somali asylum applications. The national average was 31%. Not unusual by itself. Different judges had different standards. But Webb dug deeper. The approved refugees weren't settling in Minnesota. They were disappearing. Within 90 days of approval, over 600 refugees vanished from federal tracking systems. No forwarding addresses, no employment records, no tax filings, just gone. Webb flagged it in his monthly report. His supervisor dismissed it as administrative lag, but Webb couldn't let it go. He cross-referenced approved asylum cases with Social Security records, employment databases, housing registrations. Nothing. These people existed on paper, in courtrooms, in federal systems, but nowhere else. Comment exposed if you believe this kind of investigation saves lives. By August 2019, Webb had compiled a list of 847 missing refugees, all approved by Judge Mahad. All vanished within 3 months of their hearings. He took his findings to the FBI. Special Agent Rachel Kovac received the briefing. Organized Crime Division, Human Trafficking Specialist. What Webb showed her was impossible to ignore. Kovac opened a preliminary investigation. Code name, Broken Gavel. Her team started with financial records. Judge Mahad earned $174,000 annually. Comfortable, but not wealthy. Her property records told a different story. 3 homes in Minneapolis. Total value, $4.02 million. A lakefront cabin in northern Minnesota, $890,000. Commercial properties in St. Paul, $2.07 million. A Minneapolis apartment complex, $6.03 million. All purchased with cash between 2011 and 2019. Total real estate holdings, $14.01 million. On a judge's salary, Kovac obtained sealed warrants for banking records. What came back was staggering. Wire transfers totaling $89.04 million over 8 years, routed through 13 shell companies, registered in Nevada, Delaware, and the Cayman Islands. Deposits came in $50,000 increments, just below federal reporting thresholds. Kovac's team traced the companies, all lead back to the same network. Labor contractors, meat processing plants, agricultural operations, construction firms, all employers of undocumented workers, all paying Judge Mahad for access to refugees who couldn't say no. This wasn't immigration fraud. This was human trafficking, industrial scale, protected by a federal judge. Type yes if you're ready to see how deep the corruption went. The surveillance began in October 2019. No physical tails, no marked vehicles, just digital monitoring and financial tracking. Phone records revealed encrypted communications with known trafficking facilitators. Mahad made 127 calls to a number in Mogadishu. Each call lasted exactly 4 minutes. Investigators identified the recipient, Hassan Yusuf Abdi, former Somali military intelligence. Current coordinator for East African trafficking networks. Text messages used simple codes. Investigators recognized them from other cases. E-package ready for delivery. Route clear Thursday. A payment confirmed. Each message preceded a spike in asylum approved. Kovac's team expanded surveillance to Mahad's professional network. They discovered something worse. 2 ICE deportation officers were on Mahad's payroll. Monthly payments of $18,000 each. 1 CBP inspector at Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. $22,000 monthly. 3 attorneys who represented asylum seekers in Mahad's court. $35,000 each monthly. A Minnesota Department of Human Services supervisor, $41,000 monthly, all receiving payments through the same shell company network, all providing intelligence that kept the pipeline flowing. The operation was sophisticated, layered, protected at every level. Refugees arrived at MSP Airport. The compromised CBP inspector expedited their entry. They appeared in Mahad's courtroom. The compromised attorneys presented their cases. Mahad approved their asylum claims. Often in under 20 minutes, the refugees received temporary documentation. The DHS supervisor ensured no follow-up investigations. Within days, labor contractors collected them, transported them to facilities across 12 states. The compromised ICE officers ensured no enforcement actions were taken, and the refugees disappeared into forced labor. Meat plants in Iowa, agricultural operations in Wisconsin, construction sites in North Dakota, working 16-hour days, living in overcrowded housing, unable to leave, unable to complain, because they believed their asylum status could be revoked with 1 phone call. And they were right. If this makes you angry, hit like now and share this story. By January 2020, Kovac's team had mapped the entire network. It stretched across 4 countries, operated in 17 states, involved 43 corrupt officials. Judge Mahad sat at the center, the gatekeeper, the key that unlocked everything. Labor contractors paid her $150,000 per refugee, delivered in cash or cryptocurrency. Over 8 years, she'd approved 1847 fraudulent asylum applications. Total payments received $127.03 million. But the human cost was incalculable. FBI interviewed 12 refugees who'd escaped the network. Their stories were identical. Promised jobs, promised freedom, promised safety. Instead, they found captivity. One woman described working in an Iowa meatpacking plant, 18 hours daily, 7 days weekly, sleeping in a trailer with 11 others. When she tried to leave, supervisors threatened deportation, threatened violence against her family in Somalia. She worked for 14 months before escaping, never received a single paycheck. Another refugee worked construction in Minnesota. 15-hour days in sub-zero temperatures, inadequate clothing, minimal food. He tried contacting ICE. His supervisor discovered it. He was beaten. Moved to a facility in South Dakota. Worked another 8 months before escaping through a bathroom window. These weren't isolated incidents. FBI estimated 2,300 refugees were trapped in the network at any time. Locations spanning from Montana to Tennessee, generating an estimated $840 million annually for trafficking organizations, all enabled by a judge who swore to uphold justice. The decision was made in February 2020. Operation Broken Gavel would execute coordinated raids across 17 states simultaneously. Target locations: 34 facilities, 28 labor contractor offices, 19 corrupt officials, and Judge Mahad's chambers. The logistics were massive. FBI, ICE, DOJ, U.S. Marshals, state agencies, 847 federal agents, 234 state officers, 93 vehicles, 6 helicopters, all coordinated to strike at exactly 5:23 a.m. on March 9, 2020. The timing wasn't random. Intelligence indicated a major refugee transfer was scheduled for 7 a.m. If they waited, 180 people would disappear into the network. The operation had to be perfect. Comment justice if you believe corrupt officials deserve maximum punishment. March 9, 2020. 5:23 a.m. across 17 states, federal vehicles moved into position. No sirens, no lights, just darkness and purpose. In Minneapolis, 27 agents surrounded the courthouse. Judge Mahad's personal vehicle was already in the parking garage. She'd arrived at 4:40 a.m. early. As always, agents entered through 4 access points. Moving silently through marble hallways, Kovac led the team toward Mahad's chambers. 3rd floor, east wing. They approached the heavy oak door, voices inside, multiple people. Kovac gave the signal. "The federal agents! Search warrant!" The door crashed inward. Inside, 3 people froze. Judge Mahad stood behind her desk. Professional attire, calm expression. Next to her, 2 men, known labor contractors from Iowa. On the desk, an open laptop. Refugee photos displayed on screen. Headshots, ages, skills. They were selecting inventory. A nobody move, Kovac ordered. Mahad's expression never changed. "I want my attorney." The contractors remained silent. Agents secured the room, seized the laptop. A photographed document scattered across Mahad's desk. Asylum applications. Annotated with handwritten notes. A strong worker. EU compliant. Approved for placement, not legal evaluations. Selection criteria. One agent opened Mahad's desk drawer. Found a burner phone. 243 contacts. All numbered. No names. Another agent checked the filing cabinet. Found cash. $340,000 in rubber-banded stacks. A third agent discovered a hidden safe behind a bookshelf. Hydraulic tools forced it open. Inside, encrypted USB drives, foreign passports, Bitcoin wallet keys. More cash. Kovac read Mahad her rights. The judge said nothing. As marshals placed her in handcuffs, her phone rang. Caller ID showed a Mogadishu. Kovac answered. "This is FBI Special Agent Kovac." "Who is this?" The line went dead. Mahad smiled, just slightly. That smile would haunt Kovac for years. Share this video if you believe corruption this deep must be exposed. Simultaneous raids across 17 states yielded devastating evidence. In Iowa, agents stormed a meatpacking facility at 5:23 a.m. They found 180 refugees living in metal containers behind the plant. No heat, no running water. Working conditions inside were worse. No safety equipment. 16-hour shifts. Supervisors with tasers. When agents entered, 12 refugees collapsed from exhaustion and relief. In Wisconsin, a dairy operation held 97 refugees, sleeping in converted grain silos. Working before dawn until after midnight. Children were present, ages 9 to 14, working alongside adults. In North Dakota, a construction company employed 124 refugees, living in unheated barracks. February temperatures below zero. Medical teams treated 43 for frostbite. Across all locations, 2147 refugees were recovered. Average time in captivity, 19 months. Not one had been paid. All believed they had no choice, that their asylum status depended on compliance. All believed Judge Mahad controlled their fate. And, in a sense, she did. The labor contractors were arrested simultaneously. 28 operations shut down. The compromised officials were taken into custody. 2 ICE officers, 1 CBP inspector, 3 attorneys, 1 DHS supervisor, all charged with conspiracy, human trafficking, bribery, and racketeering. But the investigation revealed something even larger. The Minneapolis network wasn't unique. FBI discovered similar operations in Chicago, Detroit, and Seattle. Different judges, same methods. Over the next 6 months, federal investigators would dismantle 4 additional trafficking networks, all using corrupted immigration courts, all moving refugees into forced labor, all protected by officials who swore to uphold the law. The total number of victims exceeded 8,400. Type vigilance if you understand why oversight matters. The evidence against Judge Mahad was overwhelming. Forensic accountants traced every dollar, $127.03 million in bribes over 8 years. Digital forensics recovered 18,000 deleted emails, explicit instructions to trafficking coordinators, approved the family from Badoa, contractor paying $180. Curvin Imboli, the case from Hargeisa. Payment hasn't cleared. A fast-track Thursday's docket. We have buyers waiting. Not judicial deliberations. Business transactions. Encrypted phones contain contact lists. 340 individuals across 4 continents. Labor contractors. Trafficking coordinators. Money launderers. Corrupt officials. A complete criminal enterprise. Documented in meticulous detail. Interview transcripts from rescued refugees filled 4,700 pages. Their stories were consistent, promised opportunity, delivered bondage. One man described his asylum hearing. Judge Mahad asked 3 questions. Approved his application in 11 minutes. He thought it meant freedom. Instead, a contractor met him outside the courthouse, drove him to Iowa, locked him in a facility with 70 others. He worked 19 months before the raid. A woman described arriving at MSP Airport with her 2 daughters. 2 daughters, ages 7 and 10. The CBP inspector expedited their entry. A contractor picked them up the next day. They worked at a clothing manufacturer 16 hours daily. The children worked alongside her. When she protested, supervisors threatened to separate them, send her daughters to worse places. She never protested again. These weren't immigration violations. These were crimes against humanity, and a federal judge orchestrated it all. The trial began September 14, 2020. Federal prosecutors presented 847 exhibits, 234 witnesses, 18,000 pages of financial records. The defense argued entrapment, claimed Mahad was building a case against traffickers from within. Prosecutors destroyed that argument immediately. Where are the FBI reports? Where are the documented briefings? Where is any evidence this was authorized? Silenced, the defense shifted. Claimed refugees weren't trafficked. They were employed. Prosecutors played video from the raids, refugees living in metal containers, children working industrial equipment, people collapsing from exhaustion. The jury watched in horror. One juror was dismissed for crying uncontrollably. The defense claimed payments were consulting fees, legal, declared. Prosecutors presented tax returns, no consulting income reported. They showed shell company records, money routed through 7 countries, hidden in offshore accounts. They demonstrated intent, sophistication, premeditation. The defense called no witnesses. Judge Mahad never testified. Deliberations lasted 9 hours. Guilty on all 47 counts. Hit subscribe so you see what happened to the others involved. Sentencing came 4 months later. The courtroom was packed. Refugees filled every bench. Families held photos of those still missing. Judge Mahad entered in an orange jumpsuit. No expression, no emotion. The federal judge delivering sentence spoke for 23 minutes. His voice was cold, measured, filled with controlled rage. You were entrusted with the most sacred duty in our legal system: to protect the vulnerable, to deliver justice, to uphold the Constitution. Instead, you became a predator.
You weaponized your authority. You sold human beings for profit. Well, you betrayed your oath. You betrayed your community. Oh.
You betrayed every principle this nation was built upon. The damage you caused extends beyond the 2147 individuals directly victimized. You damaged faith in our institutions. You gave ammunition to those who question whether justice can be impartial. You will spend the rest of your life in federal prison. And even that sentence feels inadequate for the scale of your crimes. Layla Mahad, life imprisonment without possibility of parole. The courtroom erupted. Some cheered, some wept. Mahad showed no reaction, no remorse, no emotion. As marshals led her away, she glanced once at the refugees in the gallery. That glance conveyed everything: contempt, superiority, defiance. Even convicted, she felt no guilt. The 2 ICE deportation officers received 28 years each. The CBP inspector received 31 years. The 3 attorneys received sentences between 22 and 26 years. The DHS supervisor received 24 years. The 28 labor contractors received sentences ranging from 18 to 35 years, depending on conditions at their facilities. Total incarceration, 847 years across all defendants. Every conviction sent the same message: human trafficking will be prosecuted, corruption will be exposed, justice will be delivered. Common justice served if you believe these sentences were appropriate. The institutional response was swift and comprehensive. The Department of Justice ordered complete audits of all immigration judges nationwide. Financial disclosure requirements expanded. Lifestyle investigations became mandatory. Random case reviews increased 180%. Any judge with approval rates 40% above district averages faced automatic scrutiny. Rotation policies changed. No judge could handle asylum cases exclusively for more than 3 years. Counterintelligence protocols intensified. Anonymous reporting systems were enhanced. The changes weren't symbolic, they were structural. Within 18 months, DOJ identified 7 additional judges with suspicious patterns. All were investigated. 3 were criminally charged. 4 were cleared but removed from immigration cases. The system was learning, adapting, protecting itself, but the damage lingered. Public trust in immigration courts dropped 34% according to polling. Refugees feared the system that was supposed to protect them. Community organizations worked to rebuild confidence. Town halls, outreach programs, transparency initiatives. It would take years. The 2147 recovered refugees faced long roads to recovery. Most suffered from PTSD, severe anxiety, depression. Federal victim assistance programs provided counseling, job training, housing support, but psychological scars don't heal quickly. Many struggled to trust authority, to believe they were truly free. Some returned to their home countries voluntarily, preferring familiar danger to American betrayal. Others stayed, determined to build the lives they'd been promised. One woman who'd been trafficked to Iowa started a nonprofit, supporting other survivors. Advocating for policy changes, she testified before Congress in 2021. Her words were powerful. A Judge Mahad didn't just steal our labor, she stole our hope. She made us believe America was a lie. But I'm still here, still fighting, because the dream is real. The system failed, but the dream survives. The gallery stood and applauded for 4 minutes. For the 243 refugees who remained missing, searches continued. FBI believed they'd been moved internationally before the raids, likely to Mexico, Central America, or back to East Africa. Interpol circulated alerts. NGO search trafficking networks. Embassies investigated leads. As of today, 67 have been recovered. 176 remain missing. Their faces appear on FBI websites. Their families wait for news that may never come. It's the cruelest part of the case. Justice was delivered, but recovery was incomplete. If you believe missing victims must never be forgotten, share this story now. The financial impact was staggering. Asset forfeitures totaled $143.07 million. Properties, accounts, vehicles, Bitcoin wallets. The funds were directed to victim compensation. $67,000 per identified survivor. Not enough to erase trauma, but enough to rebuild. Additional funds supported anti-trafficking programs, training for law enforcement, awareness campaigns. The money couldn't undo harm, but it could prevent future harm. International cooperation expanded dramatically. Somali authorities arrested Hassan Yusuf Abdag, the Mogadishu coordinator, extradited to the United States. He faced trial in 2022, convicted on all counts, sentenced to 40 years. Mexican officials dismantled 3 trafficking networks connected to the Minnesota operation. Guatemalan police rescued 28 refugees traced to Mahad's network. Canadian authorities identified and prosecuted 4 labor contractors who'd purchased refugees from the Minnesota pipeline. The network's collapse rippled across continents, but investigators knew the truth. This network was gone. Others would emerge. The demand for exploitable labor hasn't disappeared. The profits remain too high, and corruption finds new vessels. In 2023, FBI opened investigations into 2 immigration judges in Texas and 1 in California. Similar patterns. Suspicious approval rates, financial irregularities. The cases are ongoing. The fight continues. Type never again if you believe stories like this prevent future crimes. Today, the Hennepin County Courthouse still stands. New judges occupy the chambers. New cases are heard. But Judge Mahad's courtroom was permanently closed. The space converted to storage. Too many memories. Too much damage. Some argued it should be preserved. A reminder of what corruption looks like. Others wanted it demolished, erased completely. Compromise was reached. A memorial plaque was installed in the courthouse lobby. It lists no names, sure, just a statement. In memory of those who suffered injustice within these walls. May we never forget that authority without accountability is tyranny. Simple, direct. Sure. In federal prison, Layla Mahad lives in isolation, maximum security, separated from general population. Former judges in prison face unique dangers. Other inmates hate those who wielded power corruptly. Her days are routine, monotonous, endless. No interviews granted, no public statements, no signs of remorse. She exists in silence, serving a sentence that ends only with death. The refugees she trafficked have moved forward, some thriving, some struggling, all surviving. Their strength is remarkable. After everything they endured, they continue. They work, build families, contribute to communities. They are living proof that human resilience exceeds human cruelty. For the federal agents who worked the case, the emotional impact was profound. Many couldn't